So what I'd like to do is ask everybody except the ECL team and Sharon Gray to put off their videos, because then theoretically what will happen is everybody will be filled with just 6 or 7 people on the screen. So if you could put your videos off, and then except obviously for Illy and Jane and Fionila, Reggie, Alison and Linda. Let's see if it works. So Loretta, if you could put your video off, because we can't do it from this side apparently. And Angela, if you could put your video off as well. And there we go, people. Salda, if you could put your video off. Maria.
If you have trouble, I can do it.
Can you put people's videos off?
I just can't do it because you have to do it one by one. So.
All right. Okay. So all right. So if you are struggling a little bit.
Yeah. And
so Linda and Illy and Alison and Fionila, Reggie, I see your videos off. Your video should be on. Maybe she's coming back to us. And Sharon Gray. There we go. Is it happening?
We're missing Sharon.
And Reggie.
Yeah.
And Reggie.
And Reggie as well, yeah.
Video on and talks. Maybe she'll pull up to the beginning screen.
Yeah, maybe she's... Reggie?
Here's Sharon. Yay!
And Reggie.
We go.
Can you hear us? It's Reggie.
Maybe...
It's Reggie. I'll invite her to turn her video.
There she goes.
Oh, there she is. Great. Thank you. And Sharon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. So hopefully everybody, because the idea would be then everybody could see the 6 or 7 people that are on the screen at the moment. And I think it's really nice to acknowledge that these are the people that have been holding the space since the 24th of March, when Illy had the idea to come together and create this conference. And so for the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've been holding the container and creating this so that this can happen. And I think when I talk about the container, it's fundamental to our work. And my passion for the container, I think, comes from Rosado. And his insistence that we have to slow down to be able to speed up, and really slow down to reach a level of depth. And I remember we did some work, we went away for a weekend, and we rushed the container, and we didn't build it well at all. And then the next day, on the Saturday, we actually went back and we redid the container. And then all of a sudden, everybody in the group just reached a level of depth and honesty and connection that just wasn't available without really spending the time and the intention of creating this thing that we call a container. And especially now in the world of virtual connection, it's almost so much more important to build a container. And it's my hope that at the end of this experience, not only would you have learned how to build a container and being able to translate that into your own context, your classrooms, your families, your businesses, but that we actually do build a container amongst ourselves. And so that at the end of this exercise, we actually feel that we are in the container and it exists. And all of us have a sense of the field and being able to access the field and enter into that field. And so it's my idea that now is the time that we really need to be able to access that field in a visceral way, so that despite the fact that we're miles away from each other, we can actually really feel a connection, and that we can feel that we are part of something bigger. So that's my hope, and it's an experiment. So to introduce you to, well, I suppose you can see everybody's faces. So welcome to the initial container builders, or to the panel. And I started off showing you a slide of what we call the 7 beads. And so these are 7 elements that we believe are necessary for a container to be built. And so I'm just going to put the slide on again quickly. And so each one of the panelists look at that slide. And you see, be purposeful, listen deeply, suspend judgment, bring your creativity, see the whole, respect confidentiality, and be present. Just allow yourselves to connect with that image. And as you see those beads, and even if in your imagination, almost as if you could reach out and take the bead that belongs to you, that bead that you know is the one that you need to carry as we build this container. So when you feel ready, just reach out, grab the bead that belongs to you. And this is that part of the container that you need to hold to ensure that this container's got depth and capacity to do what it needs to do. Very good. You've got your bead. Stop sharing. Yeah. So as you're standing and you've got the bead in your hand, I want you almost to imagine yourself standing in a circle. And you have this bead, and it's in your right hand. And you're able to reach out to the person on the screen in front of you, and you're almost able to link hands. So the right person goes into the left hand. Till eventually all of you are standing almost in a circle, holding your bead. And now, Alison, just if you could share with us, what is the bead that you chose, and what does it mean to you to take that bead?
Did you ask me?
Yeah, please, Alison. Yeah.
So the bead I chose was a confidentiality bead. And I could feel as I was choosing it, the depth the safe container that it creates, because I know that one of the things that's happening is we're including a space for vulnerability in our container, and that often in many groups, I know the way in which vulnerability gets excluded, and I can feel when I bring in the confidentiality piece, I create a safe space for sensitive things to become part of our container.
Alice, when you said confidentiality, my heart got squeezed. And I would like people to just notice when people mention what they bring, what happens inside you as witnesses to this container that we're busy building, as you witness us building this container. So, Fionnuala, what is the bead that you were drawn to?
Listen deeply. You sent this to us this morning, and it has had a powerful magnetic attraction. And I just saw Rasada on the screen and disappearing off again. So it requires humility and a huge level of, or it asks humility and a huge level of presence and willingness to be in service of and to listen for what it is that might want to emerge. And for me, it holds also all that Alison said about the vulnerability. It means I'm available for that. And I'm available for my own emotions and therefore for others. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Linda, can you share with us your bead and what is it that you hold? You must put yourself onto, you must unmute yourself, Linda.
You're on mute.
Okay, I did it.
No, yeah. She still has to unmute herself. Linda, can you
unmute your mic?
Yes, I can.
Got it. Good.
The silent creativity. Yeah. And I just saw the words creativity and intuition. And I think it's the playful creativity and intuition that comes into this that always brings such joy, and the love kind of shines through with that when we're in that place. And what I was saying before is I grabbed this, I picked this up this morning and just grabbed a bunch of beads, big beads, and I happened to pick 7. So I think that's, I didn't count them. So.
Yeah. So just the lightness that you bring in the creativity space, it almost balances as we build this container between listening deeply, creativity, confidentiality. So Ili, what is the beat that you chose?
For me, it's creativity and intuition. Definitely one of my, my strongest assets, and one that I use all the time and incorporate in the work that I offer and how I structure my reality is with the use of creativity. And for me, it's a channel opener. It's a way to not only receive but also to emanate to the world something, a message, a resource, a strategy, an attitude, whatever it is that emerges sometimes out of the ether, just like this conference. out of nowhere we grow from creativity. So that's like something from nothing, which is, fantastic.
Beautiful. Thank you. So I see 2 creativity. So as I said before, it doesn't matter because it obviously means that this is a beat that needs a lot of holding. So Reggie, what is the beat that drew you?
You've got the 3rd one, creativity.
Wow. Okay. Nice.
That one talks personally to me. What it stands for to me, it's trusting in yourself, standing in your own truth, it stands for having faith in yourself, almost like your identity, as you can only be you, being present in yourself, because there's only one you out there who can have the kind of impact that a person is created for. So thinking about the conference, I think it's quite an exciting thing, because the imagery that I have is everyone putting all their ingredients in this big container, and something absolutely beautiful coming out of this. So that's what it means. That's what it means for me.
Thank you. And Jane?
Mine is suspend judgment, be open to possibility. So I think it spoke to me, for me, it's a personal message to me, but it's also helpful for everybody to open their hearts and open their minds and to put away projections and assumptions and be open to everybody's kind of truth. I want everybody to stand in their own magic, and that increases the sense of possibility. So I've also got this little cube here that I made at a Nowhere creative dialogue, which I keep on my desk, and I wrote messages to myself, and there is one there which is stop blaming others and making excuses. So that's the suspend judgment and be open to possibility. There is so much possibility. I'm blown away by it.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jane. And then Sharon, the bead that was drawn, that you drew.
Well, I'm a fourth creativity, so.
Gosh.
And for me, the creativity is in that there's two parts to it for me. The first one is to have the courage to sit with the vulnerability of co-creating, creating something that may not go well or may go brilliantly, but actually just sitting with that and the messiness, the stickiness of all of that at the time. And the other about the intuition sense of creativity is that sort of adventure and curiosity, playfulness, accepting of others, and almost tickling in a sensitive, maybe more gregarious, quiet, but appropriate through just a tuning in others to join in that sort of creative process. So this is my bead of creativity.
Beautiful. So it's really, so I believe when we create containers, the containers are always fit for purpose. And so if we tune into the field and we invite the field to lead and guide us, this field, this container that we've created, this unique container that will never be created ever again, has this huge element of creativity, the sense of listening deeply, and the bedrock of confidentiality. So Alison, I want you to put your camera off and remove yourself from the container. And I just want to ask the rest of the container, what does it feel like when Alison leaves? What happens to you?
Unsafe. It becomes wobblier.
Wobblier, yeah.
My word was unsteady.
Unsteady, you can feel it.
Yeah, anxiety, confidentiality is so important as a basis of trust. And anyway, I love Alison. I want to
I'm distracted. I want to know where she is. I want to go see her.
Yeah, something happens.
There's a vacuum being created. It's like a suction quality that can drain the container.
Yeah, I feel it.
I want to see her moving. I don't like the still picture. I'm missing her.
Yeah.
And I feel
Alison, what is it like?
Sorry, I feel drawn to compensate for it. It's pulling my energy.
And yes, that opens up so much. Just that's exactly what happens in systems when something is missing. We all need to step in. And Alison, what's it like for you to having left? What's going on for you?
Yeah, well, I so the first thing that happened is that I put my head down. So I feel almost like I'm in a ball in the corner, but I feel excluded. I feel like I should be there. I feel outside of the space, and it was it was so spontaneous actually. When I turned off the video and I kind of spontaneously, I thought I was resting, but I could feel as I was in the space, this is the shape of that sense of being excluded. Mm-hmm.
So come back. So,
Someone
welcome.
in the chat, I feel really angry, when this happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good for the people that are watching this container as we build and wrestle with it to notice what happens to them. And we've got lots of creativity. So I'm going to ask Jane, can you leave? You came with creativity, your creativity.
No, I didn't come with creativity.
Oh, sorry.
Do you want to
suspend judgment?
Will I get rid of that? Yes. I'm going.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, leave. So just notice as you watch this, what happens when Jane goes. And Ellie, what do you notice? Suspend judgment, leaves.
Well, from my holding group perspective, facilitators perspective, and I think for each and every one of us who knows the experience of holding a group, when the slightest whiff of judgment cropping in, it affects not only the speaker or the people in question, but it affects the entire group. There's you can almost sense it like a cloud just immersing itself over the entire session, and it feels a little bit the same. Is removing judgment, such a key principle in holding space. And when it's been showed out of the room for whatever reason, we all feel it. I know from experience, but I also feel it now in myself. There's something missing. There's something fundamental.
We need it. Yeah, we need it. So Jane, come back again.
Okay, can I just speak, Raymond, 1 second?
Yes.
I'm completely stuck.
Yeah.
It's as if the remove judgment, if that's not there, then I'm literally frozen, because I'm not able to move or to try things out. I moved back and went into stuck. Okay, I've got to move.
Yeah, can I? I immediately, I can't even look, can barely look at the group, and I notice in myself, the question arises in me, oh, is this when my judgment gets turned on? Because there's this lack of trust, and now all of a sudden I'm very vigilant. Oh, can I trust? Noticing that space is very interesting for me.
Whoa.
For me, Ray, it's funny. The word that comes to mind is how I feel. It's like, what's the point of this exercise? Because it takes away the truthfulness of the work that's being done. The minute there's lots of judgment in the container, what's the point?
And Sharon, I see you nodding your head. What's going on?
Because I don't want to talk. And I have a real pain of, if judgment is here, then I will sit and sit quietly and not dare to share.
And when you speak, I feel tears come to my eyes. I feel the pain.
And the truth of what you spoke.
So Jane, I think you better come back.
Please come back.
Come back, Jane.
Oh.
Ah.
I was very touched by particularly what you said, Sharon. Just to say, what I felt was, it was like I was getting smaller and smaller and smaller, as though I was going to kind of slide off my chair under the desk. It was really strange, really completely overwhelming, kind of reductive, embodied thing. So thank you for having me back.
Yeah. And I can breathe a bit. There's that.
And I can talk.
You're back. Yeah, jeez.
And I was like Sharon, and I'm even still like needing a little time to feel that non-judgment back now. You know, takes a little bit.
Yeah.
To trust again.
I can talk now. Before I couldn't even talk, but now I still. Whew, all right.
Yeah, so give it the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay.
Give Linda the time for it to happen.
Yeah.
And feel it in your bodies as you feel that, okay, this container's it's becoming a little bit more buoyant.
Yep. Yep. I'm also looking at everybody else that's not with us, that is with us, but has no video. I keep on coming to that, wanting them to be part of the container too.
Okay,
Just
good.
putting it out there.
I was waiting for a movement that permitted that to happen. So when you build a container, it gets a life of its own. And I know when you study psychology and they talk about you need to create it, when you run groups, you have to make everybody feel safe. And it's like a thing that you have to do. But when you build a container, it's actually got a life and a vibrancy of its own that you need to learn to take care of. So what I would encourage everybody that's listening is just to take a moment and just feel in their right hand a bead. And just almost imagine I'm holding this bead. And this is what's needed to create this container, to make it stronger, to make it durable, and to have capacity. And maybe even you could think to yourself, this is the element that I bring to this container. And even I'm sitting, I'm actually feeling in my palm of my right hand. It almost feels like a heavy kind of something's in there. And then even as you sit there, I want you to join the little container that we built. So take Alison and Fionila's and pull their arms apart, and you stand in between them. And really allow yourself to get into this circle. So you reach out your right hand with your bead, and someone puts their left hand over it. And I want you to really feel that we're all connected, that we're all creating this container. And bring that element that you need to bring into this conference, into this moment. And feel the people on either side of you. And now, most importantly, this container isn't just made for no reason. This container needs to be able to hold the love that we have for the children. So as you stand holding the container, being the container, I want you to pour all the love you have, first for your own inner child, into the container. That inner child that wasn't allowed to learn, that inner child whose curiosity was stifled, that inner child who was supported by some teacher somewhere, and the love that you have for that child, pour it into the container. And the love you have for all the children, fill the container with that love. And feel your capacity to hold the love that you have, because you've got everybody else supporting you. And I think from this place, it would be interesting to imagine how you could use this in your own context. So we do this practically with parents, and then we tell them to go home and do the same thing with their kids, and with teachers. And then sometimes when a kid takes the bead, say, of I'm going to be respectful and I'm going to listen, and then when they struggle with being able to be respectful and being able to listen, then the teacher, because she has a glimpse of the systemic ideas, instead of getting down on the learner, she says, maybe you need somebody to support you as you hold that bead. So the classroom becomes a different space. It becomes a holding space. And you start looking at that place in a way where you ask yourself, what's missing when there's a problem in the classroom? And what needs to be added? Like, what part of the container do I need to bring in? And who can carry it? Who can hold it? Which of my learners can I invite to hold that beyond time, or learn so others can learn around you? So I'd just like to put it out there for the group, and if you want to say something and if you want to add something, I'm just going to ask you to unmute yourself and then speak from your heart, and we'll see what happens. Because now we've got this container, so let's enjoy it. So maybe you can think to yourself, what was that element that you bring to the container? What is the bead that materialized in your hand? And what is it like to bring that to the container? So Sharon, I'm going to get the ball rolling by maybe asking you to share if you'd like to, or not. Sharon Kalinko. So I think I need to unmute you. I've got you.
I was just interested that the people who selected beads were selecting their strengths, whereas for me, I selected my weakness. And I selected it because it's something that I would like to develop rather than because I already have it. And it was also creativity, which is interesting.
Sure.
And I believe that I probably do have creativity, but somehow when you spoke about the little child who was suppressed and wasn't allowed to express their creativity, I think that was me. And I'm still struggling with it now, even though I've got one foot in the grave and the other one on a banana peel. It's a bit hectic at this stage. But yeah, it's still something that I would like to develop.
Thank you.
Ramona, do you want to ask your question? I see you have a question in the chat about balance between the parts. If you can't quite see that, but you're welcome to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask that question.
No, so as I understand the question, it's about balance between the parts. So who asked the question?
I did.
About
Ramona.
okay, hi Ramona, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So yeah, ask the question.
Okay, so you know, there are several aspects, there are several parts to the container, and I was conscious about all of them needing to be in balance, because if one is chosen, what's happening to the others. And like Sharon said, she chose her weakness, whereas some of you chose your strengths. So are you aware when you choose what's happening to the others? Because I feel that we need to be.
So Ramona, my idea is that the container we create is fit for purpose. So when we come together in a particular way, what emerges in the container is what's needed. So from this experiment, I would say what is needed is a lot of creativity. And to bring out creativity, it's almost, that's the invitation that this container is making. But maybe if you're working with a group of people where there's a lot of hurt and a lot of sadness, and then maybe more people would have chosen deep listening or confidentiality or suspend judgment. So I think the beauty of building a container in this way is that you make the container exactly what's needed for that time. And then trust the field, trust the system. It's going to give you what you need. So to be able to give ourselves permission to be really creative over these next 2 days, how magical. Like, what an invitation, what an exciting prospect. I don't know if that helps.
It does. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to say something about, if you look at the tools that ACL offers, there's quite a lot of it in order to induce creativity, in order to encourage creativity, whether it is the way that a child or an adult can look and work with their own emotions, connect with them, manifest them, inform the world about them, or ways to actually go through processes where creativity can be applied and utilized in a variety of ways. So really, I see creativity in general as one of the foundations of what ECL has to offer in general. That feels like a very fundamental point.
Yeah. Yes. Jane?
Oh, well, I was just going to say a little bit about creativity, because in my view, children are our teachers when it comes to creativity. Children are all born naturally curious and creative. As Ken Robinson was saying, when we started ECL, the system often beats creativity out of children. Schools squash it out of children. Creativity is curiosity, exploration, stepping into the not knowing, being prepared to get it wrong and having another go. And actually, that's what we're all going to need to be doing more and more in this current world situation. We don't know what's going to be happening. We've got to be creative, and that means stepping into the unknown and making new things happen.
Yeah. So Jane, I noticed a question as well about, do you need to have all the 7 beads? So it's almost like there's a right or a wrong. So I'm going to just share something with you. Maybe that'll just kind of maybe answer that question about, find this quickly. Where's it gone? I had it all lined up and now it's disappeared. Where's it gone?
Just while you're talking about that, for me, when I use the 7 beads in a large group, you can share them, on a flip chart or whatever. The key thing is the process of considering it with the group saying what it means to them, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. So for me, it's the process that you go through with a group in creating the container.
Exactly.
Okay.
So these are actually 8 beads, and these were created by a school teacher with the learners. And obviously the idea is the same, but when she created these beads, she asked the learners to come up with what they needed to be able to create a space where learning can happen. So when you create this container, this container is fit for purpose, because this is where learning has to happen. So when the learners come arrive on time for their lessons or respect other people's views, enjoy and participate, be confidential with all information, work together, and don't leave anyone out. Treat everyone how you would want to be treated yourself. Listen rather than taking when others are talking. So it's a different kind of container. So the idea is not so much to say, we're not prescribing this is the beads that you need. When you build a container, the people themselves come up with what beads they need to be able to do what they need to do.
So I think,
I'm going to take it away. Yes.
yeah, what I'm feeling right now is that we were sort of, as a panel, sort of demonstrating, creating the container. Then we were inviting everybody else in. And we were using the 7 beads just kind of as a guide for us, you know? But I'm also wondering if people want to unmute or chat, if there's something else that they feel would be really great to come into this container that they could hold in the container. Just sort of take another step to include, you know, everyone else into the container. So they could either share it or put it in chat, what else they came to them in terms of a bead and holding the container.
Yeah, Linda, that's spot on. Because remember at the beginning I said what we're trying to do is really get to a point where we, as a group of 73 people, feel that we are in a safe container and that we somehow are connected, even though that we're not in the same room. So what do we need? What does our container need to be able to be that?
Mm.
So just stay with the question a little bit, like feel into it. Like, what is it that I need to really feel that I'm part of these people that are on the screen in front of me?
I see a few people, so we'll do Bibi and then Nina.
Okay, Bibi, yeah.
Yeah, I feel a little bit ashamed to say it. I'm not really ashamed, but it feels like I'm not allowed to say this here. But I'm the advocate of the devil. For me, making a container is to open my heart for the evil and for everything which is in society not allowed to be.
Thanks, Bibi.
What was the
So
first?
Bibi,
What was the first point you said? Opening your heart to what? I missed that first.
Opening your heart for evil, for
Evil, right?
For the most ugly, awful things, the facts which are happening and we don't want. And I feel a little bit a wish to go to a very nice world. But the only thing to get there is to include the parts which are not nice. And I think for children, it's so important when they feel that their parents abuse them, that they are not excluded when people think abuse is bad and we don't like abuse. Of course I don't like abuse, but it belongs to the world.
So I need to check in with everyone. Is what Bibi's saying acceptable in this container? Can this container hold what she's just said? Is it robust enough? Or do you find yourself shutting down because it's too much?
Not at all. I feel an opening.
Yeah.
An opening of more possibilities. And
yeah.
a greater ability to hold something.
So feel into that. Feel into the container. It's got resilience. We can do this. We can do this.
Yeah.
Nina, would you like to share? Nina Frank?
Yeah.
So I'm actually having difficulty including myself at the moment. I felt very disconnected through that process. And there was hurt there was anger. It was obviously, yeah, it actually made me very emotional. And I'm not very trusting at the moment of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So Nina, if I can use what's happening to you as like a learning point, because this does happen when you create a container. And part of the power of a container is to be able to say to someone, that's okay. You don't have to come and stand and hold hands with us. It's okay if you take that place outside the container, because we're strong enough to be able to contain that and give you that freedom and that permission to either be in or to be out.
Yeah,
and sometimes in a classroom, you have to make that allowance, that there's that kid that doesn't feel that they want to be held in that class by their fellow classmates. So Nina, thanks for your honesty and bringing that. Thank you.
If I can just add, maybe ask Nina if there is something that can be offered so you can feel more included, you can feel more safe. Is there something that's missing?
Well, I think what Raymond just said, that it's okay. You know, it's okay to feel connected or disconnected.
Right.
That actually made a difference.
Thank you.
And then to check in for everybody else, to when you hear that, oh my gosh, it is okay. I don't have to be in the trenches with this lot, but I still belong. Hopefully it gives you a bit of a breath.
It just reminds me of a bit in one of the ECL films, which you can see on the website, where the children in the class put their stones in a hoop in a constellation of friendship. And one boy puts his stone quite a long way outside the hoop. And the teacher says, what can we all do to try to make David feel more included? And a week later, they redid the constellation, and he put his stone, I can't remember if it's just inside or just outside, but it's so much on the edge. So it had made a difference, but he was never going to be in the middle.
Yeah. But there's also something that's quite interesting when you do this work with the container, is that the order of belonging really comes to the fore. Because when the people in the container get a sense that someone is excluded, they have almost like instinctual drive to want to include them and bring them in to belong. So as you say, Jane, like working with kids, sometimes there's a bully in the class and the bully places themselves outside of the circle. And sometimes it's the most obscure kid that actually takes their symbol or their stone and brings them closer into the circle and affirms that that person belongs and wants them to be part of the container. So it's quite a remarkable, it's almost like, as I said, it's like gravity. You can't resist it. The four orders you cannot resist. Like, we designed to honor them. We want them to be in harmony and balance. And children, they're so in tune with it, they just do it. So we just have to almost create the space for them to actually do what they do best.
We have some, an interesting dialogue showing up here in this chat, but I want to, first as a question, can you speak to where does the concept of the container come from? And is it, you know, how, and anyone else who wants to, from our panel?
Well, for me personally, my growing understanding of the container comes from that sense of doing group work and making everybody feel safe so that they'll be able to share. And then slowly, by working in the container, realizing that the container's got a life, a vibrancy, an energy of its own. And I think it actually came a lot when Fee came to South Africa, and we were sitting at Janet's place at the river, and we were talking about the calabash and what it means for, what do we need to hold ECL? What is the container that we need to build to be able to hold ECL? And I think for me personally, that's where my thinking was kind of formulated around this. Where it comes from originally, I would imagine our roots are nowhere, sounds of it. And now here roots, I would imagine, but Jane, you might be more familiar with that connection.
Yeah, I do think that it did originally come from Nowhere, which was the organization that originally kind of grew ECL in its foundation. So in Nowhere, we talk about creating containers for work in organizations, work in any circle. So, but I think with the beads and so, I think the beads also came from Nowhere, actually. They came from Nick Turner. But Raymond, you have kind of grown them and deepened the meaning and deepened the impact. So yeah, it's moved from there.
Jane, can I build on that?
Yes.
And Raymond, the roots go way, way, way back. And anybody working in trauma therapy, it's about that concept of holding. What Nowhere did, and I think what ECL done, is to take these concepts which have huge roots and to see how you can creatively work with these in schools and classrooms to make it appropriate for children. So it creates that safety, but also opens up that space for creativity, but it is also robust enough to hold what Bibi pointed to. So it's not just all the niceness and the lightness, but you know, there is, I was going to say shit in the world, but yeah, also to be able to hold that. So yeah, the roots go way back.
And what I love about the ECL practice is that they take these hugely complicated theoretical constructs and they reduce them to a single bead. And then you can give the bead to a child to take home. And all of that stuff that we study and all that is captured and the child benefits from it. And they don't know why, they just feel better. I just feel good. I don't know why I feel good. I just feel great when I hold this bead. It makes me feel good. I'm going to keep holding it. And all we do is we give them the bead.
Ramona, did you want to bring the comment thread that you started into this discussion? I think you, yeah.
Yes. You mentioned about children wanting to include, or people wanting to include, those who may be on the outside of a hoop. I disagree with that. Not everyone behaves or reacts in that manner. As nice as it sounds, it's not the case.
So tell us more. I love this.
Well, I've been on the exclusion end of many a circle, many a container.
Yeah.
Whether it's family, whether it's school, there's been ridicule, there's been exclusion. So I totally disagree with your comment.
Well, I'd like to say something as a person who, from my own personal experience, been excluded in many situations, especially during school and in the early days of it. One of the things...
Ellie, I'm sorry, do you mind? I'm butting in, I'm really, really sorry.
Go ahead.
But can I just ask for just a second, because I can feel a huge sadness from Ramona, and just to allow that and then respond. Would you mind?
Sure.
So I just want to say, Ramona, that was, thank you.
Thank you for acknowledging.
Okay.
Yeah, it has its place, your comment. I appreciate it.
And I'd like to take a breath, everyone to just take a breath with it too, you know. It's a big statement.
Thank you. Go ahead, Illy.
So I know this from the inside. I know this, how I carry this, you know, in my life every day and into my work. And what I'm seeing in what we are offering with this work is that very often we are called in, or those who are using the method are called in order to address these sort of challenges. So it is highlighting and acknowledging the exclusion, and it is the process of making that part of the process where it shows up that is really some of the key factors in, you know, how dynamics and flow, whether it's a classroom or a project or people who are in the, you know, leaders of organizations, they will be facing this reality, the reality of exclusion, and the container is well equipped to hold that and to make place and space for that. And it's one of the comforts for me personally with the background, you know, as you mentioned, your experience, I experienced similarity of these, and then something in the holding capacity of this work is really helping me, to coming to terms and being able to heal that wound, that part in myself that's still aching, the exclusion. So, and Jen and I had a really interesting experience with it. You know, my own kind of home ground, and the cost and consequence of exclusion and what it triggers. So, you know, we are living these crises of exclusion in all sorts of ways. Internally to the organization, externally to the organization, in our own experiences of life, in day-to-day reality. So it's a big thing, and it is held from the way I see the methodology. It really is holding it, able to offer something for it.
Ilya, it's so true. And even as you say, this container, the methodology does that. So I come back to our little container that we're creating of 63 people. And that sense of exclusion, not being excluded, but being held by this container right now. And when Ramona shares her experience, what impact does it have on our container? Does it shudder? Do we dissociate? You know, do we just switch it off? Or do we have the capacity to hold that bit of information and allow our own experiences, as Edie says, of exclusion to be felt, our own stories of not being included? So almost as this, so Ramona, by sharing what you're doing is you're actually making this container stronger, because you're pushing it, like it's almost you're pushing its boundaries. It's like it's, so when you bring your vulnerability to the container changes, becomes stronger.
My container feels like a sieve.
Right now. This container. And what happens to other people when Ramona says this is how she's experiencing the container? It's like a sieve.
I would love to ask if you would, your container's like a sieve, I feel that. And I feel the power of the container that it's around. And I would love to ask if you would be willing just to allow yourself to be held. Even if you can't hold it for yourself, and to lean into us.
Yes, I can allow myself that.
What strikes me is how much hurt and pain there is in so many, in my experience, so many of the people who so long create these amazing situations for children are also being informed by their own hurt.
And as I'm sitting here, I'm curious around, I get a deep sense in my own heart. And I'm curious about when you just to become aware of what's going on inside your own hearts. You don't have to say anything unless you want to, but just to notice what's going on. Because this is where we connect, eh? This is where we really, really are able to be present with somebody that's on the other side of the planet. And I've just noticed the time. And ironically, time is also part of the container. You know, people know that it's going to be an hour, it's going to be an hour. And that's an important part of containing. So it's a nice take home. So as you take this container, almost I would love you just to cradle it a little bit and look after it for us tonight. We've worked really hard over the last 4 weeks, and we've done it with so much love and so much expectation and so much excitement. My charge to you is to look after it. So take care of it tonight, you know, and then when you bring it tomorrow, it will be looked after. So maybe it's a bit crazy a request, but I'd love you to do that. And I do appreciate your complete presence and your love. Thank you. So Eli, you want to wrap up for the day?
I can certainly do that. Thank you, Raymond, for leading this last session. Thank you for the team for being part of the experiment. Thank you for all the rest of you for being part of this and commenting and reflecting and being with the process. And brought up some very interesting points, some very deep learning for me, and resonating with a lot of what's been happening today. So the whole thing is a bit of an experiment for us all. And I'm really grateful for the collaboration, grateful for the participation. We're going to continue tomorrow. All the details are at the website. The schedule is there. If you still have questions, the session will remain open for at least another 15 or 20 minutes. So feel free to use the chat to reflect or comment or ask, and we will read it and we'll process it. and bring it into the sessions tomorrow in whichever way it's most suitable for the group. So I'm really thanking you from sunny London, for wherever you are, to enjoy the rest of your day, your afternoon, your morning. We shall see you again tomorrow and continue. There's a whole bunch of things happening tomorrow, including an open space where people do their own presentations. You are still able to set them up if you wish to say something about involvement with systemic education, working with children, parents, educators. So feel free to use that space. We will promote all of them at the same time so people can see who you are, what you're offering. And yeah, stay tuned for us for tomorrow. Grateful to all of you. Thank you for having us, taking time from your whatever else that you're doing. But we do this with a lot of love and a lot of care for what we are representing and what we are offering. So it's wonderful to have a whole community taking part in this. Jiggly fingers to all of you. We see you tomorrow.
Thank you all. Thank you. I would like just to ask you, concerning tomorrow, are we going to use the same link to the sessions?
Yep, tomorrow is the same link. There will be there's some variation tomorrow. So we open together in the same exact link, the same password that you used. So
okay,
go
good.
to the website and enter there. And then we do have some a concurrent session. So there will be 2 rooms open at the same time, 2 separate Zoom links. So if you want, you'll need to leave this room and click a new link or enter a new meeting ID to go to that one. And then in the afternoon,
I may use 2.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. I may use 2 devices to get connected to both of them just to see what is going on. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So as not to miss any of the 2. Yeah.
Great.
This is the grace of technology.
Yes. Don't miss
Okay.
it. We'll record all the sessions.
Who's talking?
Someone on the iPhone. Who's
okay,
talking?
sorry. Yes, it's me, Hassan. Yes, you know me. I have just messaged you this morning.
Yes.
Sorry, I was using my computer for something else and I was listening to you from iPhone. But tomorrow we can meet and we can discuss different things if you want. I have no problem.
Great.
Great.
Today you have a phone and tomorrow you have 2 computers.
Tomorrow I'm going to use the computer. Okay, wait, you can see me now, yeah?
There we go, great.
Hey,
yeah,
hello.
Here we go. Okay, good.
Terrific.
But my name is not iPhone.
No. Oh, what a pity.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I am really grateful for having those speakers, for everything they shared with us. And I am working in the field of education as well. I am a teacher of English in Morocco, but now I am at IUP here in Indiana. I am here doing different stuff. Maybe tomorrow we can discuss in deep and go through different things if you want. How we can make this more enriching and engaging, especially during this time of pandemic and critical situation. I know it's not an easy thing to stay inside for a long time and to cope with life, but we are to swim against the current.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can offer, and this is of course for anyone. There's during the open space time, you can invite a conversation around that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tomorrow just I'll finish something during the morning and I will join you. I have just a session in the morning, then I will join you. Then we can discuss, we can share stories, we can share different things if you want.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. We have wonderful
Yeah.
speakers tomorrow, so you will learn a lot from them as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But by the way, you are recording these sessions. Will you publish them later?
Yes. Yeah. They'll be published.
Okay, good.
I haven't quite figured out the details. Somebody's YouTube channel, I think.
Okay. It's great to meet you all.
Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead.
It's great to meet you all. And I am sorry, I'm leaving now. Okay. So
Great.
take care and bye-bye. Have a good
Goodbye,
evening. Have a good
iPhone.
night for everyone. Yes. Okay, bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Linda, did you want to say something? You're muted. We can't hear you.
That's why he didn't hear me. I was just saying, breakout group, even in the concurrent sessions, like a nice breakout group.
There are enough parcels
and,
at the moment.
and in the chat will be more
600 parcels each.
Oh,
Then I
we
will have
unmuted
enough.
everybody.
Then I will
Sorry.
find
We can't hear you. We can't hear
Hold on a
you.
second.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
West. And the other one I've got is Lion Park.
Go ahead, Linda.
I said tomorrow there'll be more opportunities. For example, in my workshop, we're going to break out groups or small groups, be able to chat and talk with each other more. There'll be more interactive. And also in the self-organized sessions, there'll be smaller groups. So there'll be more ability for people to interact tomorrow.
That's right.
Right.
Okay, so just a reminder, you'll log in tomorrow exactly the same way that you logged in today. There's no change. But I did close the registration during the time of the conference just because we couldn't be interacting. So I will reopen in case you have friends who want to show up tomorrow. I will reopen that. Actually, I can reopen that in a moment. So thank you. Raymond, did you want to? Bye, Sharon.
Thank you all. I'll see you tomorrow and the next day.
Bye-bye.
Bye, beautiful woman.
Oh, sure, man. So I don't know. Do we need to have a little bit of a debrief ourselves?
Yeah, we do it. We do it on a different
break and then come back, or
separate session. Not here.
There are still 25 people on. I'm not sure.
Great. Nice.
Do we need to open it for questions or
we can leave it, we just leave it like this for another 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
So we can capture the questions if there are any. And
okay.
Yeah, well, people are leaving quick. Oh, there's Ingrid. It's nice to see Ingrid. And she's obviously looking after the cat. Who else is here? Reggie.
I'm here, Raymond. Thank you.
Hi. How are you?
It was nice
Ingrid's
to
my
see you
friend.
in action. Very special.
Thank you. So nice to have you behind me. Thanks a lot. So good to see your name.
Totally.
Oh, jeez.
Who's Ingrid?
She's a fellow Enneagram, I wouldn't say enthusiast, crazy for the Enneagram. Yeah, great friend of mine.
I love the background.
I'm a zealot.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, she's a zealot. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we did. So Ingrid does a lot of facilitation for corporates. That dwells a little bit with constellations. There's a guy by the name of Noranio. He does Enneagram and constellation work. He does them together. And you've done some work with him, so brings that. Such a lot. So how did you find it today? Give us some feedback.
As an Enneagram 7, if any of you know what that means, I tend to like to race. So it was very challenging for me to slow down to this pace. I can when I'm facilitating, but I must say I felt incredibly antsy. I'm encountering obviously the ECL culture, which is so soft and so holding and so very unlike balance sheet managers in a room. So yeah, thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
just
cool.
to
Thanks
say
for
that one of the core founders, Ingrid Terry Ingham, whom you've heard, was absolutely an Enneagram 7.
Oh, I'm
So,
sorry.
and Jane is saying, yes, he really was. So all of that creativity and powerhouse and
new ideas
is also in our DNA very strongly.
A very big challenge for the kind of mantra 4-7 style is down and in. So this is very good medicine, as difficult as it is to swallow. But thank you.
Lovely meeting you.
You too. Thank
That was
you.
very good. Mm. Mm.
I see my friend Artie is on this. I think that though she's just listening in. So if you're around, I want to say thank you, and I see you.
That's
May have just walked away and not realize it was over and still be open.
I think that's probably the case.
yeah.
So we may need to. Well, I'm not sure.
Mm.
There is also
Ramona, are you well? Thanks for your contribution.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was just saying to Alison, it just came up. It's as things do. And I felt safe enough to share it. So thank you all for being there and supporting me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I really appreciated what you brought and what Bibi brought, and I could feel inside of me the way I was being. It felt like a teaching. I could feel myself being taught. You know, the way in which sometimes, I think someone said this, maybe Bibi said this, but the way in which we want to make we sometimes have an inclination to make everything sunny, you know, and to feel there's the part of me that wants to lean in and make everybody okay, instead of what about the part of me that includes by creating space for this what, you know, just what you're naming without needing to change it. It's so beautiful. I really could feel that in myself.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
May I respond to what's just been said, Ray?
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
What's really wonderful for me, and a big learning that invites me to expand my capacity for presence. I've been reading quite a lot about epistemic violence and epistemic equality. And, you know, I love the idea, but this for me is the best example I've ever seen of epistemic justice, epistemic equality, where every voice is given equal gravity. And it's actually very moving. So thank you.
Okay, yeah.
That brings me to tears.
I nearly cried too.
Yeah.
I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, go well. Thanks, Ramona. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ramona. See you tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm getting a bit of a chat. Shame, man. So Ramona says she's going to work on the plugging the holes of a sieve.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Epistemic justice, epistemic equality.
It's really exquisite work. I'll try and find a link. Maybe I can share it with Ray and he can send it. there's an incredible woman doing work in this area, a philosopher, very powerful work.
So it's quite, you know, when I think about the container that we built and that is present, it's almost like it's so nice just to hang out in it. Yeah.
More like
All of it.
hammock.
Say again?
It's more like a hammock.
Well, it's a 9 container. So I'm a 9 and then you go. So I bring the 9 kind of this. Everybody get comfortable and find your most peaceful position. Definitely. I think it does. I think it does. I think the container is influenced by the person who constructs it. Definitely. As well as the people that are in and who are part of it.
Yeah, to me it feels like a warm pool of water, and I absolutely don't want to get out into the cold air. So I feel quite tired, and you know, there's a pool to go, and kind of I'm going to go and pick some rhubarb out of my garden. That's my next plan. But you know, it's really hard to leave. So I just want to acknowledge that. So I just want to share with you, because we could just practice it here, something that I learned from somebody who's on this program, actually, Nikki Jewett from Ralph Allen, who was a governor, and she's now working, Fionnuala, with Jamie a lot. They're doing a lot of work, yeah. But this is something that you can do on Zoom. So I love the holding hands. That was fantastic with the bead. But something that we can try with everybody is when their cameras are on, is if you put your hands like that, so that you can see them on the side of the screen, then everybody's hands are touching everybody else's hands. Do you see?
Yeah, I can feel it.
So it feels like a lovely thing that we can do at the end, maybe at the end of day 3 or at the beginning of day. Yeah. So it just
in the beginning of the day and the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just a nice thing to do. Yeah.
That's very clever.
That's nice.
That's using, you know, creativity with the technology kind of thing, you know. Yeah.
But I think, Jane, that's an important thing. This creativity that came up so strongly in the field.
Very strongly, yeah.
We must honor that somehow and bring that. And Linda, when you brought creativity, it was such a juxtaposition. There's such fresh lightness to it. So I think it's so. So I'm wondering how to bring that into tomorrow's sessions. Just invite creativity into the space.
Well, yes, it is there in the middle. ECL.
Yeah,
you know. So you know, it really is right in the middle. So it's central. It's central. So, but inviting it in, and acknowledging it, because for me, you know, that's what it's all about. Just like the guy who was called iPhone, you know, he wants to tell us some things. He wants to share some things, and that's what this is how this movement will grow and take root in different places. So.
We'll have to go to Morocco for training now. It's going to be
Oh dear. The fact that there's no aeroplanes flying anywhere, you know. We can row there in a little boat, perhaps. Yeah.
Okay, so shall we close this and?
Maybe just a quick checkout.
Yes, Ingrid, that would be good.
You're welcome to stay.
We do the checkout for the team as opposed to an open session. I think it's going to be more intimate and appropriate.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So how should we do that?
Yeah.
So we can start our own session in in about 10 minutes, if you're okay with
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'll send the invitations around.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
everybody
Ben.
present.
Goodbye, everybody.
See you soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, Alison. Thank you.
No, man. Do you not know about this?
Top 12 people. Interesting. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to end the meeting.